Hey everyone, this is Corine La Font, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And you know how we do it here on Between the Lines, always with gratitude, always with thankfulness. I am thankful to be above ground. It's a beautiful day. It's rainy, it's overcast, but it's beautiful nonetheless because it is an honor and privilege to see that. And you will see a lovely, handsome man next to me called Charles Walt Wilson. And he's so gracious. You know what he did? He put the title of the podcast under his name. 3 tips when planning for your retirement. So he's making sure that you don't miss it. Sorry, I'm coughing. See why I was drinking water before? So, Charles, let me say a little bit about you. Let me just cough again. Sorry about that, people. These things happen, human qualities, right? So, let me share a bit about Charles. So, Charles is the owner of a private pension by design. You're going to see his website a little bit later down in the show. He has more than 50 years in the financial services industry. He is the past president of a national service organization, and he is a member of the National Association of Professional Agents and a Navy veteran. We want to welcome Charles to Between the Lines. Welcome, Charles.
Well, thank you very much, Corine, for having me.
It's great to have you. And we're talking about a very relevant topic, retirement. It's a word that people don't like to mention, just like debt. I think it's synonymous with debt. Like this is over. I don't have anything to do. What am I going to do with my life? So the word retirement is associated to me with that based on what I have heard. And it seems to be a sort of negative, bad thing to talk about, but it is a necessary phase of our life that we need to discuss and we need to prepare for. Now, my first question to you is, where in heaven's name did retirement come from? Who came up with this concept of retirement? Because I cannot understand why able people of a certain age, because people retire here in the Caribbean around, let's say 60, 65, that's when they are retired by the organization that they are employed to. But they are far from what I understand about retirement. They still have life. They still have oomph. They still have intellectual capability. They still have a lot going for them. So who came up with this concept that they need to be let go from their job or retired from their job?
You know, I have the same thoughts you have. I do not understand why people want to stop being productive in their communities and with helping people out. To me, I don't find anywhere that it says you should retire at a certain age. The retirement is up to the individual as far as their wanting to do things maybe with their families, to spend more time with their families, to maybe volunteer more time to go out and do things where younger people are going to come in and take maybe their position, or maybe they mentored somebody to take their position and that person has reached that ability to, be productive in that organization. So that person now can step aside and they still can be productive. Okay. They can still be productive. Doesn't mean they got to be productive in that particular field. Okay. Because I still know a lot of people that will take on a different job or a different responsibility later in life in their retirement years and be very productive, wherever it might be or whatever it might be. And we're not done. Our minds are still active. As long as I have the ability to think and reason, I want to be helpful to people. I'm well past retirement age in my life. And I get a pleasure out of helping people understand certain strategies and concepts about retirement.
Yeah, I think it provides us an opportunity, and I want people to look at it in a positive light. It gives us an opportunity to have more time, like you said, to do the things that we probably always wanted to do, dedicate our time to, that we didn't get the time in our more earlier years in our life, more employable years in our life. And so now we're given the opportunity to do so. Although there are some people who are actually running a business and doing the things that they want to do while still having a job once the policies of the company allows for that. Some people, as a matter of fact, even retire themselves before the company retire them, and they take what is called early retirement, or they just leave because it's not about retirement for them. It's about bringing joy into their lives and doing the things that they really want to do. What's your perspective on that?
I agree. And I think going back a step, once you've raised your family, if you have a family and your children have reached adult age, if they've gone through school or on their own, you don't need to be a resource for them as far as, well, I think you're always a resource for your kids, but you don't need to be so much a financial resource for your children then. Then you and your spouse, if you're married, you sit down and you look at what do we do? What do we do to be productive? What can we do to help people out? That's what I think retirement should be about, not stopping being active in the communities or in things like that, but let's redefine our purpose that we are placed here now in our lives. Let's see where we can be of advantage to people, where we can serve people. Not everybody has to take. We can give. God's blessed me with a lot of mental capacity to help people along, and I want to share that with people. I want to share with younger people especially.
So let's change. We're changing the narrative here. So we highlighting the good aspects or the positive aspects of this term called retirement. But I don't like the word retirement. What could we change it to? Let's say we could change the world here in this moment, Charles. What is a word that we could change it to that will make it more sexy, more attractive?
I'm not so sure I've got that one in my mind.
Instead of retirement, which has such a, ooh, you're putting me out of pasture. Oh, you're letting me go. No, let's kind of sexualize the term or bring some sort of attractiveness to the thing. So it seems, like something we need to look forward to sooner than later.
Freedom to choose what you wish to do. Flexibility to do what you would like to do in whatever areas that you feel confident in or able to do that. It's just, to me, important that when you're working for a company, or even if you're an entrepreneur, you're under a lot of pressure. You don't have that freedom, that flexibility to be able to go out and do things that you have maybe wanted to do when you were younger even. What passions change as you get older. I mean, I don't have the same passions I had when I was, 50 years old. I got different passions now. So maybe it's getting the ability to be free and to choose a passion that you can really, really be helpful to people on. I think that's my personal opinion.
We have Stashuna Knight here. I know her personally from Jamaica. She's here with us supporting. Thank you, Stashuna. I always have a problem pronouncing her name. And she's saying here, yes, we should be givers. You were saying that before, being able to give, to serve, in that capacity. And so now we have that opportunity. And I like the fact that we can retire ourselves early. And we're using the word retirement for now, because that's the title of the podcast, until we could come up with something better and change the narrative. But freedom is definitely what it is. But I don't even want to say freedom in a sense. It gives you additional flexibility, additional freedom. But I think our lives should always be about freedom. It shouldn't feel like a prison sentence until somebody let us go. I don't like that. So we need to change the whole narrative for this whole thing. And so, Stashuna is saying, thank you. It's a pleasure. Yes, I always recognize you, my darling. Thank you for being here. So let's move on to the tips. So we're looking at what are some tips for persons who may be moving in that direction or maybe heading there and are afraid to discuss it, are afraid to prepare for it, or even to think about it because it means, I wouldn't be working anymore. Nobody wants me. So that whole narrative about that, we want to change that by helping people to get a few tips. And like we mentioned in the podcast, the title of the podcast is 3 tips. Within the time, we could only mention so much. So 3 tips that you can share, Charles, for persons who are preparing, moving towards retirement, what should they do?
One is not procrastinate to put money away or put things away. Start when you're younger, to start learning how to be disciplined, to put money aside in whatever you wish to put it into, and however you want to designate it to whatever. You've got to have that discipline. You've got to start early. One thing is important. Time, I can never replace time as a financial professional. Time is lost. Time is the most valuable thing in your retirement planning. If you lose that time, then you've lost that ability to build the amount of wealth, cash, whatever you want to call it, to retire on, and to have that ability to live comfortably, to do things you want to do. Because when you live the world that has jobs in it, or you're employed, that income stops. Where are you going to derive the income to continue supporting you if you're single, or you and a spouse if you're married, and do the things that you want to do? You've got to start that planning early. And I like to see people say, how early? Well, I start saying, when you start the kids out and they start their own little business out on the street somewhere, teach them how to put money away and save it. Don't spend it as much. I mean, they can spend it, but give them a portion of it they put aside.
Yeah.
And then that's called accumulation. Part of a retirement phase is accumulation, accumulating the dollars in whatever vehicles you want to use to have that money. Then you have to go into the distribution stage. That's after you reach a certain age, you say, I'm done working. I don't want to work anymore. So you need to make sure in those points that you want to do that you put your money away. And I also one point I want to bring out that I think is a very strong point is you got to build a foundation of your financial that's stable, that you can count on. Now, if I was out building a home and I was sitting down with my builder, my architect, what do you think would be the most important thing I'd want that house to have?
Foundation.
Exactly. And that's what I want in retirement planning or tip, is build a good, strong, sturdy foundation. And that means some degree staying out of a lot of speculative things to start with. Once you get that building foundation, of that retirement foundation built, then you can go out and invest into anything you would choose, because you got that stable platform you can fall back on. You've got that certainty that funds will be there when you need them. So I think start early, build a strong foundation, and then when you get to the distribution stage of that, deal with somebody that has gone through it. I've got clients that I'm in second generations. I'm in the distribution stage of a lot of my clients right now. So I have to help them take through it. In the United States, the biggest thing, and I'll go back track, Social Security was the big, when you turn 62 or 65, you get Social Security. That's retirement in the United States. That's how it started. That's how the brain started thinking. Because now I've got all this money or this thing's done and I can retire. I can get subsidized with Social Security. I can get subsidized with my other retirement accounts, and I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So you also, go ahead.
No, I wanted to bring up the point you mentioned, discipline. For those of us that, including myself, discipline is one of the things we lack, or we don't have enough of, or we are not disciplined enough. The willpower is there. But the discipline. And for those of us who are not as disciplined, what can we put in place to make sure that money, once we are working, which is another point, because some of us, how unstable the economy is, and people, especially after COVID, things are just, you don't know what can happen today, tomorrow, next week. And so you may be in a job now and you may be planning, and so that goes right through the door because you no longer have a job. So there goes one, the discipline, and two, the income. What can we put in place for something like that to buffer should something happen in terms of my income stability, as well as what can I put in place for the discipline, the lack of discipline?
Discipline is a tough, to get people to do that is really, really tough. I utilized, when I started, I utilized what we call a dividend paying whole life policy. It's a permanent life insurance policy. I I make a premium payment, but a portion of that premium payment went into a savings account or into an account the insurance company held. So I was forced to make that premium, not forced, but it was under a contractual obligation to make that premium. And a portion of that went into this cash account inside this policy. That cash account builds up over time because they pay dividends and interest on that, and it's safe. It's not out in a risk market or anything like that. That's how I built my foundations, is on that kind of a platform. Because when I needed it, it was there. Because I have access to that cash value, or I call it my personal vault of money that's built up in there. Because it's a forced savings plan, okay? And it goes every month. I can access that for anything I wish to use. In other words, if I have let's say COVID struck, and let's say I've been paying that for 5 or 6 years, and say I got a cash value, this is all hypothetical, situations. Say I have, say, $10,000 built in that cash value, and I need to have, for a couple of months I'm going to be down, I need to have at least $5,000 to live on. I can go in there and borrow that out without any penalties, and then I can pay it back without any penalties.
Okay.
So that money is there for me. It's subsidized my loss of income because of COVID. Or let's say I got terminated unexpectedly from a job. I have that money to fall back on to meet my obligations if I have obligations to meet.
Yeah.
So it's sound. If I put it into a traditional retirement plan here in the United States, you got to put it in subject to rules and regulations by the government. And you got to have, and when you take it out, you're going to get tax on it if you can take it out. Sometimes you can't take it out.
Yeah.
So we go back to these points. Start early, build a good foundation, and have flexibility built into your ability to access that money for emergency purposes, and then pay it back. Most people are used to signing a loan to borrow money, and they have a contractual obligation to pay it back. Well, I don't have to have that with my insurance company, but I write myself a note. I say, pay to the order of X number of insurance company. Walt Wilson signs to pay back X number of dollars a month, and I put that on my computer on my wall, and I faithfully pay that loan back so that my money goes back into that account. It's over time. I've been in, like I say, 50 years. I've been in this business over 50 years, and you have to learn. And truthfully, when I was younger, I had no idea about saving. I spent, but I didn't save.
Yeah.
And it's something I've taught my children as much as I can, and my grandchildren, and it's just a matter of modeling. I think modeling is the best thing. Accountability. If you want to be accountable with a spouse or somebody, be accountable about this. If you got a good friend and you can share those things with that friend, accountability will hold people to doing what they're supposed to do.
You said something significant there that I don't want to pass by. You said when you were younger, it's a common thing that we all go through. When we are younger, we have the years. Why do we have to think about this now? I could live forever. I don't need to. And then it catches up with us. What age do you think it really catches us about we really need to save? What is that age gap? It doesn't have to be a specific number, but what do you think is that age gap? Like, use yourself as an example and your clients. What do you see is the average age that it catches up with us?
I think it starts around about 40, 48 in that area there, and up. I think between 48 and 55 is when I see the people start bulbs and saying, I really need to start doing. I get a lot of people that wait till the last minute and they say, well, I want to be able to have this much amount of retirement funds built up. And I said, well, how old are you? Well, I'm 10 years away from my retirement. I said, I can't possibly.
I'm 10 years away.
In that short period of time. There's no way. I said, I would love to try to do it, but I'd be lying to you if I said I could. So you got to start with that 45. I actually say 45 to 55 to me is the critical age.
So Shuna is saying, wow. Yeah, it's really wow. And what do you think are the reasons behind that? That in that age gap, 40s to 50s, when we have 10 more years to go or less than 20
Well,
years to go? What do you
yeah,
think causes that?
I think you realize you started your family if you're married, or you're later in life and you maybe spent 10 years in this job, and all of a sudden now you start realizing that life is getting shorter each and every day. Um,
Yeah.
well, they start waking up and said it's not the free ride I used to have when I was younger. From the time I was 25 or I got out of college, I could do whatever I wanted to. Now you have responsibilities. Now you got to think about the future. If you're going to possibly have good health and live, and your family maybe lives as a long lifeline, you
Mhm.
need to think about legacy planning and taking care of people and all kinds of stuff. It's a lot. There's a lot of confusion out there in the world with financial consultants. It's
The pains, you're not getting up out of bed with that sort of zest anymore, like when you were younger. Now you're crawling out of bed. You don't
I
even
didn't
want to get out
call it
of bed.
nice.
You don't even want to go to work. You're making excuses. I think these are the little signs that's telling us, oh, we're slowing down. Some of us, when we catch up with the point of, hey, I'm slowing down. I'm not moving as fast as I used to. What does that mean? Is it that I'm getting older? What is happening here? And that catches up with you. And I think we have to deal with those type of realities and the reality of what's going to happen when I don't have a job anymore. Or let's say, for instance, the company closes down suddenly. Look at what happened in COVID, or anything could happen. It doesn't even have to be a COVID situation.
Could be a
And
severe
you're out of
illness or yeah, anything.
It could be anything. It could be anything. And or probably even the death of a loved one, and you're probably dependent on to support, and now more is demanded from you, that little income, or that constant income is now having to stretch beyond what is going to happen. So I don't know. We need to be, I think education is an important aspect of this. And you mentioned from in your 20s or early, I think we need to have these discussions as early as, I don't know, school age, I would think, going to school. So that when you are planning to, probably you could even start a business younger. We are seeing younger people starting businesses much younger, even before you start working professionally. We need to start this education phase from teenage, yes, school age, and little ways even before the school. A little jar, saving money, and you start preparing them as a child before the teenage years. This is what you're putting your money for. This is what you need to do. Just financial education. Financial education.
Financial education has been left out of the system, considerably out of the system. I was
Yeah.
fortunate enough to go back when I was a vice president of bank. So I went back and talked to my old business class in high school, my business teacher. And I said, we need to teach young people how to balance their checkbook, how to read a lease or an agreement, how to buy a car. Because there's so many people out there that are taking advantage of people of their ignorance, that we need to be out there to do that. And I think
Yeah.
education, you hit on it, Corrine, very excellent. Education doesn't stop in high school, it continues on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about in my business. I don't care if you buy anything from me. I really don't. I don't really actually need it. I'll take the income, but educate you, help you understand, help you go through the concepts. That's what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, yeah. We need to customize or adapt the financial education based on the age. So a child less than 10, this is what you need to do. A child from 10 to probably 18, this is what you need to teach on, prepare them for. And then the employable years, which normally starts from, I would think, 17, 18, going up, and then into 20. So, you phase it as you go along. I don't know. I don't know who's going to take on that. I guess insurance companies, financial institutions generally should be taking on that. And parents should take the lead in terms of educating themselves and exposing their children to this type of thing. And I'm saying it to myself too. So don't think I'm chastising anybody. This is also for me. So,
Those are
um,
excellent points.
yeah,
Very well said, and I totally agree with you that that's a piece starts in the home, Starts with
Yeah.
the family and
Yeah.
goes on through. And find somebody that you can talk to if your parents aren't going to talk to you about that. Somebody in your community that would talk to you about financial things. So,
Yeah. I have your website up, as you can see. You want to guide me through it? Is there anything you want
yes,
to give away here, or anything you want anybody
you
to access? Yeah.
yeah, there's all kinds of things. I've got some free, if you go into the free gift things, there's a free book on taxation I
Mm-hmm.
give. It's a flip book. You can just load it to your computer. Uh, I have a retirement calculator. People can go into that and figure out what they're on track for the retirement. I do free quotes for life insurance, term policies, and stuff like that. So that's one aspect of what I do. If you want to see a few podcasts, are over here on the left. I have a few podcasts over there that you can check me out a little bit. Um, I did it on entrepreneur radios and there's key strategies for employees. There's a whole bunch of lists of things you can learn about. It's all free. There's no charge for anything. There's no charge for the book. We just try to go on. I can't remember. Oh yeah, go down to the dollar sign. I think the one block on the bottom down there. And that takes me to my other website I've got. I've got another website that you can see.
Okay. It takes me to another page. I don't know if you're seeing that. I will have to
Yeah.
switch.
Yeah, no, they're fine. You can see it, but that takes you to my bigger one. It talks about tax advantages for retirement, on generating testimonials from people that I've done business with. You can do that. So you can shut that down. That just it takes you to a different page. You just go back, box up on the right, and close it down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Awesome.
I think social media on there, they can book it. You can book
connect with you.
Yeah, I mean LinkedIn. You can book a conference call with me or an appointment with me for a free consultation. I'll do a 20-minute free call. I don't charge for giving out education and information. That's part of what I do in my later years in life because I've been blessed with having that much knowledge given me by many, many people, many mentors in my life. So
one of the questions I want to ask as we round up is, I know normally when persons are in this field, just like with law or other industries, they are licensed for a particular area, and you are in the US. Are you limited to a particular state, county, area, country?
I can be licensed. Right now, I have licenses, non-resident license and licenses. I'm licensed in Georgia, non-residents in Colorado and New Mexico. I can get licensed in any state that the person resides in. Okay, it's just a matter of me sending in the appointment. The states appoint you really quick, so I can service the whole United States. That's not a problem. But
awesome.
Right
awesome.
now,
but you're not in the Caribbean yet.
No, but my granddaughter's from the Caribbean.
Is that right? Where is she?
Dominica.
What? You didn't say that, Charles. You should have said that from the beginning. This whole conversation would have gone a different direction.
I know. I've been there, enjoyed the people there, and enjoyed it immensely there. That's the paradise. Well, I call it the Dominica. Has got the mountain ranges. It's got the highest mountain ranges in the Caribbean. It's a nature island. It's not a beach island. It's a nature island.
Yes.
Different from when you go to a beach. I mean, you have beaches, but they're not like they are in other parts of the Caribbean. But
yes, but that's good. That's good. So you need to get your license in the Caribbean through your granddaughter. Work it. Get your granddaughter in the business. Yeah, get your granddaughter in the business.
She's living in Arkansas now, so and she just graduated from cosmetology school, so she's a beautician now.
That's all right. We could mix it. We could blend things. If we're changing the word retirement to something else, we could do anything here on this podcast. Believe it. We can do.
I like that. I'm gonna come up with that word, changing retirement.
Yeah, we need to change that. I want you to come back on and we have a new term, something that's very attractive. Do you understand what I mean? Something that people be like, what is work? We don't want to do that. We want to do that other thing that's like retirement. That other thing. We don't want to work. We want to go straight to retirement.
I'll work on that. That's my homework.
Yeah. You see, we're taking an educational approach to this thing. So now Charles has homework to do. So when he comes back, we are going to be discussing that new word to replace retirement.
I got that.
Charles, any final words before you go?
No, I just appreciate this opportunity to speak to your audience and the people throughout your broadcast area. It's a pleasure. You're a pleasure to deal with. Thank you very much. And I love your smile. I love your enthusiasm. And you've got a lot of positives going on.
Thank you so much, Charles. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. After so many years of being in the industry, you know, I think you know a thing or two, just a thing or two that you can share. Just a thing or two.
But I'm still learning.
That while you're alive, you're still alive, you're living and breathing. You're always learning, always learning. And I want to thank all the persons who were watching and listening and participated and commented. Tashuna, thank you so much for being here and sharing. I know she's also, she still is in the insurance industry. So this is a particular interest to her as well. Yes. So it's good to have you on, Tashuna, and thank you for supporting. And to all my listeners and watchers now or in the future, thank you for supporting Between the Lines. Thank you, Charles, for being here.
Thank you, Corine.